Let me be clear. I hold my standards high, and I do not, or never will, hedge on what is right. And I take my oath seriously. In reference to concealed carry and open carry, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office will not enforce this segment of the order.
The Democratic governor's move is facing pushback from law enforcement officials and gun rights groups. At least 2 organizations have filed lawsuits arguing that it violates the Second Amendment. And over the weekend, some New Mexicans openly defied this mandate during a protest.
We all agree that the governor has overstepped her authority and is actually in violation of the law.
I don't know what her thought process was that she suddenly thought she could trample the Second Amendment.
Joining us now for her first national televised interview since issuing this order is the governor of New Mexico, Michelle Grisham. Governor, thank you for your time this morning. And let's get to exactly that. We just heard from the sheriff. He joins the attorney general and others who say they won't enforce it. It's unconstitutional. Why do it if it can't be enforced?
Well, that's their opinion. They have no bold actions. They don't have any plans for reducing gun violence. Every single aspect in terms of preventing gun violence, funds, crime labs, more than $150 million for retention, bonuses, and recruitment of new police officers. I'm focused on one thing. We have the 3rd highest gun-related injuries in the country.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. So I want to do a follow-up on this New Mexico story that's making headlines. And to anyone that's paying attention, it really is revealing the true desires of Democrats when it comes to your Second Amendment and right to self-defense. So, you know, despite what they claim, no matter how crazy they try to say we are, they want to take away guns. And at this point, you know, they don't even know why. They don't even remember why. They just know that that's what they're called to do. They just know that that's what their side is supposed to do. They don't, you know, think responsible, law-abiding citizens are capable of carrying firearms, and they just feel more comfortable, more virtuous, siding with the downtrodden criminal. And, you know, here's the thing. I think they know what happens. I think that they are just as aware as we are that the more you disarm the public, the more crimes you're basically encouraging to be committed. They know this. You know, criminals don't follow the law. They're going to get their hands on a gun regardless of 50 more laws. It doesn't matter. So the Democrats' plan, it only leaves law-abiding citizens completely and totally defenseless. And they think all you need is a cell phone to call the very, very same police that they've spent the last few years defunding and demoralizing. So, you know, for anyone who doesn't know, by the way, in Mexico, Governor Michelle Grisham, I think that's her name, pushing an unconstitutional public health order to ban all guns, both concealed and open carry, in just certain parts of the states, the parts that actually have all the crime that she just doesn't know how to control without feeling like a racist, apparently. And anyway, you know, so this idea of hers is so radical and so blatantly unconstitutional that even super gun control advocate David Hogg are saying just the same. They sound just like we do. Hogg, whose literal livelihood revolves around advocating for gun bans, said, I support gun safety, but there's no such thing as a state public health emergency exception in the U.S. Constitution. Well done. You know, although Hogg, I'm sure, would absolutely love to see the Second Amendment repealed, he doesn't want to overtly ignore the Constitution. And you know what? That's fantastic, dude. That is to his credit. We should commend him for that. But make no mistake about where he and the people that are just like him stand. If Hogg had his way, we'd all be carrying swords or machetes or whatever to protect ourselves. And even Ted Lieu, another very, very anti-gun, complete, total zealot, said that the New Mexico governor's order violates the U.S. Constitution. And he said that I support gun safety laws. However, this order from the governor of New Mexico violates the U.S. Constitution. No state in the union can suspend the federal Constitution. There's no such thing as a state public health emergency exception in the U.S. Constitution. So they're saying the same thing, which makes this to feel like a psyop, like they're trying to move the goalposts. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But you got to wonder, you know, honestly, what it's like to be this governor. You know, your own people are saying, knock it off. You're making us look bad. But here's the best part. So local law enforcement, the sheriffs, local cops, they have completely and openly rejected and refused to follow this order, which I think is truly heroic, man. You got to see this. But before I show you this, guys, thanks to everyone that's been subscribing and leaving such great comments. Really, really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, help us with the algorithm, man. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, most importantly, share the channel. Check this out.
Let me be clear. I hold my standards high, and I do not or never will hedge on what is right. And I take my oath seriously. In reference to concealed carry and open carry, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office will not enforce this segment of the order. While I understand the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundations of our Constitution, but most importantly, it is unconstitutional. My oath was to protect the Constitution, and that is what I will do. The governor made it clear in her press conference. She knew we as law enforcement did not agree with the order, and as a result, this was solely her decision. Other than this ban being unconstitutional, here are other reasons why I will not enforce the order. One, what many forget, is I have enough violence here in Bernalillo County. I do not want to have political violence towards my deputies or here in Bernalillo County. My job is to keep the peace and to make sure that the citizens of Bernalillo County are safe, and I do not believe that this order will help me do so. I'm a law enforcement professional. This order will not do anything to curb gun violence other than punish law-abiding citizens from their constitutional right to self-defense. Let me give you a personal story. Last week, as I'm sitting here as the sitting sheriff, I get a phone call that my brother also was a victim of gun violence last week that many of you do not know. While he and my nephew were sitting in their car, they were shot at and their vehicle was impacted by numerous rounds. How can I, as a sheriff, tell him to put his firearms away and not be able to protect himself?
So yeah, man. So this sheriff, he's taking a stand for the Constitution. He is all in. And he's basically saying, look, it's just way too unconstitutional. We're not doing it. We're not criminalizing our citizens. We are not putting our citizens at risk. But then, of course, the governor, Michelle Grisham, she responded to the whole situation where the local sheriffs aren't following along. And she's basically backing herself into a corner with her position as well.
We have the third highest gun-related injuries in the country, 90% higher than the national average. We lost 143 children between 2017 and 2021. It is unacceptable, and it calls for immediate and swift and bold action. And frankly, the evidence bears out over and over again. Fewer guns on the streets makes everyone safer, and I'm focused on everyone's constitutional rights, not just those the NRA says I should be focused on.
Yeah, it's not just the NRA. Here's one other concern from the sheriff. Here's what he told my colleague Caitlin Collins last night.
In a couple of months or a year down the road, we're the ones stuck in court, and we're the ones getting sued over all of these infringement of rights and all these other court battles, when I could be focusing so much more on crime.
Has any law enforcement officer in Albuquerque or the county actually enforced this yet?
Well, we haven't issued any civil penalties, but that doesn't mean that we're not and that we don't have the ability to do that.
But that's a no, right?
This is the pushback I get from every single, well, it's a no this minute, but that doesn't mean that we aren't, and it doesn't mean that we don't have additional police presence. And if not this bold action, making sure that you're safe going to the grocery store, you're safe going to a baseball game, you're safe walking on a hiking trail. There are individuals, including young people, where it's illegal today to have a handgun. Openly carrying handguns. My question to law enforcement is, where are you? In that young 11-year-old, Froylin Villegas, 17 rounds were fired into that gun. 35,000 rounds are fired at least annually in Albuquerque alone. You are not safe going to work, getting your prescription drugs, or going to a public park. And it wasn't just about a cooling off period. It's about making sure that everyone is safer while we do bolder work to get at both the drug epidemic and the gun violence epidemic.
Look,
and it's not for police to tell me what's constitutional or not. They haven't supported one not one gun violence effort in the state of New Mexico,
So, Governor,
including domestic violence protections, universal background checks. And I know you want to ask me a question, so I'll take a breath, but these are NRA talking points about their rights and not about anybody else's. And it's not a ban. It's a temporary pause so that we can make this community safer.
All right, man. This woman is crazy. You know, for all the talk from the left about fascism this and abuse of power that, everybody's a dictator this, dictator that, everything's a danger to democracy. Well, that's what this is, people. Talking to you on the left. This is exactly what you've been warning us about. It's just one more reminder that the people on the left, they are not serious people. This whole, you know, it's not up to the police to decide, you know, what they can or can't enforce. I'm the governor. I call the shots. My word trumps the local police and even the Constitution. No, man, that is not the way it works. You know, I thought this is literally the stuff Lefty Mother warned us about. And the police, they are supposed to follow the Constitution, right? Now, honestly, man, I hate to use the same word as the crazies, but authoritarian is exactly what this is. This is 100% Democrat authoritarianism. And it is their leftist fantasy. You know, she's a Democratic governor in New Mexico. But don't be fooled. I wouldn't be surprised if she was coordinating with other Democratic leaders about her plans to attempt to ban guns. But what I think they're doing, you know, is to get a radical Democrat to propose something extreme that we all know Democrats actually want, like banning all guns. And then you get the person, you know, she's going to take one for the team politically. Then you have a bunch of the other anti-gun Democrats saying, see, we're not that radical. We don't want to go that far. We want to meet in the middle. But now the middle has moved. The middle has shifted farther than it was a week ago. And now they're going to try and make, you know, their other radical proposals like banning sporting rifles, you know, other weapons that they say we don't need. They're going to make it look like those are actually reasonable because, well, it's not as crazy as New Mexico. I think that's what they're doing. You know, don't fall for it, guys. Everybody, please keep your eye on what's going on here. Anyway, that's just my take. Let me know yours in the comments. And if you haven't already, guys, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. We'll see you in the next one.